Welcome to the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti-vedanta Swaminiti Namah.
Hello, Haribol everyone, and welcome to it's the 81st episode of the Welsh Yogi Podcast. Yeah, 81. We're making progress, stacking up the numbers. So I think this episode we're planning to continue reading the Nectar of Instruction.
Yeah, maybe we could build it around. Nadine asked a question.
Yeah.
The beautiful Nadine asked a question. You okay, Bhakta-rupa? How is everyone doing this morning?
I'm in a listening mood.
Oh, yeah. Makes a change. My face, I shaved this morning and then I used moisturizer.
Me too.
I feel very smooth.
Yeah. It's always a great feeling.
Yeah.
I feel like you guys are bullying me.
No, honestly.
It's because I've got a beard.
Yeah, those because we're not filming this. Bhakta-rupa's got a very long white beard at the minute. Okay.
Right. So Nadine asks this question. She says, how does Krishna's plan for us accommodate our mistakes? Are the negative and positive experiences in our lives part of the journey towards Krishna?
Mm-hmm. So there's quite a few. It's like a few sections to this question, isn't it? It's not just one question, but you can kind of break it down in some ways.
That's on his phone.
I'm sorry, I'm on my phone because
like Nadine just asked you a question. Imagine that, like you ask your spiritual master.
Okay,
what's the meaning of life? And he's on Instagram.
I'm not on Instagram. I'm paying attention to Nadine.
Oh, okay.
Because what I've done is I've meant to forward the question onto the group to remind you guys, like, okay, this is the question.
Yeah.
What I've actually done is just re-forwarded it back to Nadine.
Oh, so you're texting Nadine.
So she's replied just now, like literally a second ago. Oh, wise one, I'm looking forward to your answer.
Okay, fair enough. Touche.
Good morning. So I said, trying to answer now. So, sorry, go back to it.
The question was,
How does Krishna's plan
for us?
How does Krishna's plan for us accommodate our mistakes? That's the first part of the question, and then there's an extra.
How
part.
does Krishna's plan for us
accommodate our mistakes?
Mm-hmm. Like part of this question, I think, is like just on a little random aside. Like, it's like how if Krishna has a plan for us and Krishna knows what we're gonna do before we do it, how does that account for our free will?
Okay, so
do you know what I mean? Like, does Krishna know we're gonna make mistakes? Does Krishna know we're gonna fall into Maya for this year? Does he know that we're gonna turn back to him? Is there a time in the future that we will eventually surrender to Krishna? You know what I mean? Like Shiv Raj answered that question on his podcast, and he said that Krishna knows exactly when you're gonna surrender because he knows everything, and he's completely like beyond a human, fitting into a human like a category of me or you, or it's like he knows what we're gonna do. He's just such a higher being than us.
So how do we understand that at the same time there's some level of independence that we have?
Yeah.
So I've got a few things maybe we can read out. You know what I mean? From the wisdom text, yoga text from scripture, from Srimad Bhagavatam. I was also thinking we could start off with Nectar of Instruction, which we've been going through. Because I think, and then maybe we'll go on a little journey to answer this question. So I've got some things, maybe that'll sort of, take us down the garden path a little bit and see what we sort of discover on the way. And by the end of the podcast, in the next 30 minutes, maybe we can see if we can get to some way to answering this question. Sure. So this is where we are in Nectar of Instruction. This is text 3. We're on page 33, I think. So if you go to the top of page 33, we'll just read a little bit. So this is the purport. If by fortune, because last time we were talking about, the podcast before last probably was last, we were talking about a bona fide spiritual teacher and giving the path. So if by fortune one takes advantage of this opportunity to engage in devotional service, the path of liberation immediately opens. one should accept this opportunity to return home, back to Godhead, very enthusiastically. Without enthusiasm, one cannot be successful. Even in the material world, one has to be very enthusiastic in his particular field of activity in order to become successful. A student, businessman, artist, or anyone else who wants success in his line must be enthusiastic. Similarly, one has to be very enthusiastic in devotional service. Enthusiasm means action. But action for whom? The answer is that one should always act for Krishna. Krishna Artikala Chesta. So that's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, everyone follows my path in all respects. So I was thinking on the lines of, so the opportunity is there. Prabhupada said you need to be enthusiastic and determined in order to sort of, engage in the plan that Krishna sort of set out. So that you have free will. You have like examples given, like you might be on you bought a plane ticket and you're on a plane from one destination to another. On the plane, you have free will. You can get drunk and perform some sort of like illegal act, and then when you get on the other side, you get arrested, or you meet someone, develop a relationship, strike up a business deal. Do you know what I mean? So within, even though there's one set path, within that you have a certain amount of free will that can dictate what happens to you when you get off the plane. But what I was thinking is that, so how does Krishna's plan for us accommodate our mistakes? So I think Krishna's plan for us, if anything, I want to put forward Krishna expects us to make mistakes. And we should see that every mistake is like a learning experience. The sort of reactions to our mistakes are catered in such a way that they're meant for learning and improvement. Okay, what do you guys think about that?
I mean, something that like immediately comes to mind is Krishna stating that one may perform the most abominable activity, but if he's rightly situated in his determination, then he's to be considered a sadhu. And it's almost as if Krishna is he's predicting our mistakes with saying that. He's saying that you will undoubtedly commit mistakes upon this path, but if you're rightly fixed in your determination, then you should be considered saintly. So just trying to think about, is our determination, our independence, it's like just thinking about that verse really.
Bhakta-rupa?
No, yeah, I thought the same thing. Apichet Sudaracharo. Like, he's already, that verse, he says that, so he's already expecting us to make mistakes. Like, part of the Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, look, if you mess up, as long as you're still trying to focus on me, because we have that tendency, when we mess up, we focus on the mess up, but you should just be focused on the goal. If you stay focused on the goal, isn't it? Because attention goes where energy flows. If you focus, I'm so rubbish, I'm so terrible, I'm so rubbish, and that becomes your mantra, then you become rubbish and terrible. But if you chant my mantra, then you're fine. Go on.
No, I'm going back to it. Can you read this? Read this verse in purport. This is from 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Purport by, we can break it down, but purport by the disciples of Prabhupada.
There you go.
Oh.
You want Peter to read it?
Yeah, please read that.
Okay, whoa.
Sorry, I just...
So, shall I read the text or just the purport?
No,
yeah?
read the text and the purport.
Okay. Text says, having awakened faith...
It's similar to what Bhakta-rupa was just saying, yeah?
Having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities.
So paraphrasing that verse is like,
even though we do stupid stuff, we know that it's stupid, and we keep trying to stop doing it.
So Krishna accommodates for, we make mistakes. Krishna expects us to make mistakes, but we just carry on trying to do our best, and then eventually we start to improve. Start reading the purport, Peter. And,
one last thing is also interesting at the end. It just says sincerely repents such activities. So it's like we're not, because you were mentioning that we can have this tendency to really focus on our mistake, but then it seems there's a way to do it which kind of burns up the. There's the right way to regret doing mistakes, but anyway, I'll continue.
Yeah, Prabhupada said if a good person feels bad, if a good person does something bad, he feels bad. If a bad person does something bad, he feels good. Yeah. So if you do something that's wrong but you feel bad, it means you're a good person.
And it's very purifying as well. Like if you make a mistake and you just wear that, like you own it, like. Okay, yeah, I messed up then. I don't want to do that stuff anymore. Like rather than trying to hide it and I made a mistake. People can hide it, and you know what I mean.
Yeah, you were telling me yesterday about how you were saying
we was talking about honesty, weren't we?
Yeah, and how it is a difficult thing to be honest, to be truthful, especially if especially if you don't feel like you come up to the standard.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like if you hide, you cause so much havoc in society if you're hiding your flaws and trying to put on a show and try and, cover it up with some external thing. Spiritual life's not about hiding your mistakes, it's about wearing them, but not proudly,
but still trying to act properly.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just like, look, I'm a serial killer and I should, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's the mood of repentance. It's like, yeah, I messed up.
You got to try your best to act properly.
Yeah.
Be honest if there's some flaw.
Yeah, because if you're honest, people can help you with it then.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, I'll read this purport now. So, the beginning stage of pure devotional service is described here by the Lord. A sincere devotee has practically seen that all material activities lead only to sense gratification, and all sense gratification leads only to misery. Thus, a devotee's sincere desire is to engage 24 hours a day in the loving service of Lord Krishna without any personal motivation.
So someone can just quickly, someone can step forward and say, okay, I understand that. Yeah, material life leads to misery. I should be full-time spiritual. I understand that theoretically. In theory, I get that. You get that so many people in like AA and, I understand that, alcoholism or drug addiction. I understand theoretically that leads to misery and it's ruining my life, and I should stop. Yeah. But practically I can't, and similarly you get spiritual practitioners, we might think, I understand what I should do is just full-time spiritual life, theoretically.
That makes me think like step one to getting over a problem is like recognizing you have the problem in the first place, isn't it?
That's quite nice to know, isn't it? Like, to actually recognize, because circling back quickly to Nadine's question, it's like our mistakes, how does Krishna, so on and so forth, but like my brain's not working, but like our mistakes, like anything, the material energy is designed to help you come back to Krishna if you're looking at it in that way. Like if you're just making mistakes and the world's against me, this isn't fair, I should be like that person, then you're not going to be humbled. Like Tarkanath said to me, life is humbling if you let it.
Say it again, sorry. I'm not going to be like that person.
Like people who are like, this happened to me, it's all their fault. It's like, why is the world so unfair? Why am I being punished by God? And all of this type of thing. But if you've got like the spiritual perspective on it, then it's like, we're here to learn that material kind of sense gratification isn't going to fulfill us. It isn't going to satisfy our desires deeply, So, but that's why we've got the philosophy to view it in that way.
That's because that's interesting. Isn't it? If the question is, how does Krishna accommodate our mistakes? Another way to look at it, a question is, are we reacting to Krishna's plan? If you're asking the question like, okay, what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
The question is, are we, playing the game, so to speak, going along with Krishna's plan in order to get the right result? Like,
And that's our free will there, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
because you can choose to kind of ride with the devil, so to speak. You know, like you can choose
Running with the devil.
Exactly. I was speaking to someone yesterday about this. Like, it's so attractive to like embrace your dark side for some reason. Like, there's a lot of people that do that. Like, listen to this heavy music, and you know, like go and get drunk, and like they give in to those lower urges, and there's some kind of like attractiveness to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you're just destroying yourself, and it's going to result in suffering, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Whereas
It's mode of ignorance, isn't it?
It's mode of-
Self-destruction. Whoa.
But yeah, no, it's like that. So we make mistakes. Everyone's going to make mistakes in life, whether you're a devotee or not a devotee. But if you're a devotee, then your mistake can help you come closer to Krishna. If you're a non-devotee, then your mistake might push you away from Krishna, or it just might not do anything. You know.
Yeah, and I think that's where, because I got a few other things here to read, and I think, but that is the sort of crux of it. It's the, you know, oh yeah, go on, Peter. Yeah.
The devotee sincerely desires to be established in his constitutional position as the Lord's eternal servitor, and he prays to the Lord to elevate him to this exalted position.
Mm-hmm.
The word Anishvara indicates that because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not
I thought you swore then, Peter.
That's close.
It was a close one. No one's got cancelled.
Because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately be able to completely extinguish the enjoying spirit.
That's important. Read that again.
So,
for listeners at home, we're going to read that again.
The word Anishvara indicates that because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately.
Oh, come on,
I'm sorry. It's a lot of pressure.
Start again.
Okay.
It might take some time.
Okay, here we go.
Everyone listening, zone in and listen to Peter.
Really focus now.
Listen to Peter trying to learn how to read.
The word Anishvara indicates that because of one's past sinful activities and bad habits, one may not immediately be able to completely extinguish the enjoying spirit.
Okay.
Makes me think of patience also in the Nectar of Instruction. Isn't that one of the items?
Yeah.
Am I just thinking that? So that's like patience.
I mean, Nimai
isn't it?
Pandit Prabhu, he's left his body now, but he said, you know, the amount of time Krishna says to be tolerant, the Bhagavad Gita, and he was saying a lot of the time the person who we have to be most patient and tolerant with is ourselves.
Mm. What's the verse also in the 11th canto? There's like one who he has to tolerate the results all the time, focusing on Krishna.
Tatena Kampam.
Yeah.
Brahma's prayers.
Yeah, I got
It's
that.
10th canto, is it?
Tatena Kampam Sushamik Shamano.
Janva Evam Kritam Vipakam. Heard Vagvapo Vadan Namaste Jiva Mukta Padesadaya Bhak. That's something we could read it in a bit.
It
might be good to finish with.
Yeah, that's such a lovely, wonderful verse.
Yeah.
But back to what you were saying, Peter.
Amazing purport too.
But this purport's quite long. Let's get through it.
Okay, yeah.
If I can.
Yeah.
So the Lord here
Hey,
encourages
Gopala, leave him alone.
such a devotee.
I was just trying to...
not
Sorry, go on.
the Lord here encourages such a devotee not to be overly depressed or morose, but to remain enthusiastic and to go on with his loving service.
It's far out then. I know. I don't. It is a long purport. We can't keep it. I can't speak anymore. Krishna's cursed me. We can't speak anymore. Too much. But that's an important point. You know, if you do how does Krishna accommodate mistakes? You make some mistake. Krishna says, "Don't worry. Don't become thoroughly depressed. You've got to remain happy, enthusiastic, like Nectar of Instruction saying, and carry on."
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I find like when we do get depressed about our mistakes, it's actually just all about us at that point. It's like, oh, I've made a mistake and it's me and I'm the worst there ever was and I can't, you know, like it's all our false ego. Like,
and Krishna's saying, don't do that.
Yeah.
You should be happy and enthusiastic. And when you feel like you've made some mistake, the hardest thing to do in the world is to be enthusiastic and happy. That's what Krishna's saying you got to do.
Vaisheshika Sri Prabhu says, I live to be corrected.
Yeah.
That makes me think of that.
Always stand to be corrected.
But that's if you react to a mistake in that way that you said there, like enthusiastic and like it becomes a complete miracle, and like any mistake that you make will become the biggest victory and the biggest Like, it just happened with me before, like, where, like, I did something really stupid and then I just carried on with my devotional service and didn't think about it too much and just carried on and focused on the service. And then the lesson from it was so much, I could have just...
And that's why it's good to actually, like, read these books.
Yeah.
This is Krishna speaking the 11th canto. Just you have Bhagavad Gita. This is in the Uddhava Gita, which is Krishna speaking to Uddhava. Because we might think, I've done a mistake. God, what's God's plan for me now? God hates me. I need to isolate myself. I need to be on my own in a dark room. But if we actually, that's actually the material energy talking. If we actually listen to what Krishna is saying, he's saying, just carry on performing devotional service.
Yeah.
Don't give up.
And I think I've got a friend that's really comes from a Christian background, and she's got that real fear-based, like, okay, I made a mistake, now God hates me and he's going to smite me and I'm going to be punished in hell. Like, there's a lot of fear in Christianity, or maybe not pure Christianity from Jesus, but like what we call Christianity today.
Yeah, I mean, there's incidences of God, especially the Old Testament God.
Yeah, punish and burn and hell,
murdering children, and
yeah. So that's what I mean. It's like a lot of us will have that perspective, but the Hare Krishna perspective is God is kind, isn't it? And he's
Well, that's the perspective of any religion that talks about God. God is meant to be. He's perfect. So he's all good. Anyway.
Yeah, but it's,
Okay. There's a lot to get through, but all of this is addressed in the Prabhupada's disciples talk about all this.
I'm going to shut up now.
The word nivina indicates that a sincere devotee, although somewhat entangled in the remnants of sense gratification, is completely disgusted with material life and under no circumstances willingly commits sinful activities. In fact, he avoids every kind of materialistic activity. The word karman basically refers to sex attraction and its byproducts in the form of children, home, and so forth. Within the material world, the sex impulse is so strong that even a sincere candidate in the loving service of the Lord may sometimes be disturbed by sex attraction or by lingering sentiments for wife and children. A pure devotee certainly feels spiritual affection for all living entities, including the so-called wife and children, but he knows that material bodily attraction leads to no good, for it simply entangles one and one's so-called relatives in a miserable chain reaction of fruitive activities.
Just to put this in perspective, when it talks about this means undue material attachment to family, friends, and you've got to see everything in context, because it should be put in context. So you don't see, this means like seeing your family members for your own selfish enjoyment. I mean, there's some, I remember some devotees saying early on, some sort of neophyte devotees would see something. Oh yeah, so they'd have children and they'd think you're not meant to be attached to your children. So then these children were growing up not receiving the proper love and affection that they deserve. When Srila Prabhupada, when he first came to the West, he saw that all these young boys and girls were just like, completely giving up all their family and everything and just surrendering to Krishna and, joining the ashram, becoming celibate monks. And Prabhupada at first thought, wow, these, they must be somehow, these Westers must be advanced. But after time, he could see that they couldn't maintain relationships. They fell down. Those who got married got divorced, right? And then he realized, no, actually it's because they're so degraded. So like this, when we're reading Srimad Bhagavatam, you've got to remember this is coming from a culture that is instilled, even now when you see Indian families, they're brothers and cousins, and they're much more socially sort of together. And I think, so we have to understand, like Bhakta-rupa Swami was saying, sometimes monks, they should get married in order to know what it's like to love someone, so then they can learn how to love Krishna. So when it talks about, this means undue material attachment to family, because you need to love your children, you need to love your spouse, you need to love your family, but you have to love them in a way that's not exploitive. So I just need to, because for a Western audience, sometimes we don't quite, well, I don't care about my family anyway. You know what I mean? So, but you got to learn how to be attached, before you understand what it means to be detached.
Right.
Okay, that's why if those who want to remain celibate their whole life, they need to have loving relationships with other devotees. Their hearts need to be full of love, not hearts devoid of affection and attachment. Does that make sense?
Right.
Okay, just put that.
The word dhrida nishchaya, brackets, steadfast conviction, indicates that in any circumstance a devotee is completely determined to go back on with his prescribed duties for Krishna. Thus he thinks, by my previous shameful life my heart is polluted with many illusory attachments. Personally I have no power to stop them. Only Lord Krishna within my heart can remove such inauspicious contamination. But whether the Lord removes such attachments immediately or lets me go on being afflicted by them, I will never give up my devotional service to him. Even if the Lord places millions of obstacles in my path, and even if because of my offenses I go to hell, I will never for a moment stop serving Krishna. Mm-hmm. I am not interested in mental speculation and fruitive activities. Even if Lord Brahma personally comes before me offering such engagements, I will not be even slightly interested. Although I am attached to material things, I can see very clearly. Did you want to add something?
Just finish the quote. This is Vishwanath,
Sure.
right?
I will not even be slightly interested. Although I am attached to material things, I can see very clearly that they lead to no good because they simply give me trouble and disturb my devotional service to the Lord. Therefore, I sincerely repent my foolish attachments to so many material things, and I am patiently awaiting Lord Krishna's mercy.
This is the first thing I wanted to read out, just because I think this is a big clue to answering the question. There's a plan. Krishna's plan, if we're talking about it, is he wants you to come back home to him. If you're fortunate enough, like we're reading extra instruction, you'll be given this path of devotional service or bhakti. That's the path. Okay, if you want to follow that path. And then Krishna's plan, he almost expects you to make mistakes. But the question also is, how should we tread this path? And how should we deal with our mistakes? And I think that quote you just read by Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur, saying that, I might make mistakes, but I just got to get up and carry on. And Krishna reciprocates in kind. See what I mean, Bhakta-rupa? That's what these are along the lines I was thinking.
It's lovely.
This is the verse that we don't have to read it now, but I'm going to put it in front of you when you feel like reading it.
Do you want me to read it now?
No, I want to hear what you think first.
Yeah, it's actually really powerful. Like, I guess we got to find that at some point, and like you get determined about Krishna consciousness. Like, yeah, this is the meaning of life. Like some point in when you're new or when you're a little bit, you get that determination. Like, wow, this is really it. Like, I've figured it out, or I found something here. And then what you're saying is like we get covered out. It's like that. Those experiences we've got to cling on to of like, this is the real thing. And that will get us through that will give us a determination. Like, we have to be properly fixed in our determination. I haven't really got anything to say. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said it all. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we're going to mess up. But like, that, for me, that was like a inspirational quote kind of thing of like, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'll for a million lifetimes I'll go to hell because I'm such a fool. But like, I'll suffer as long as you want me to. Like, I'm fixed. I'm going for this. Like, it's like that's it. Like, I'm going for God. Like, I'm Krishna. Like this, I'm going to go for it. And because so many times when you make a mistake, that's those low moments, those rock bottom moments are the time where you can really focus on the goal. Like.
So when you say when we make a mistake, I'm just going to quickly throw this in then. So you're saying you make a mistake. So you're saying, yeah, I'm going for Krishna. You might make mistakes.
Yeah.
So when you do make a mistake, how does Krishna accommodate that mistake?
How does he accommodate it?
Yeah, that's the question, isn't it? So I'm just throwing that in. I guess what do you mean? What do you mean by accommodate? I guess how does he react? How does he, because I guess if you were going to do a perfect spiritual life and not make any mistakes, and that Srimad Bhagavatam and what we hear, there's it's nothing but devotees who make mistakes and then surrender to Krishna in order to overcome them.
You got the definition of accommodate.
Yeah, it means to provide with something desired, needed, or suited. So how does
So if you make a mistake, how does Krishna
provide us with something we need, or something that's suited to that mistake, or something that's...
Well, I think sometimes it's like, because we're going to, if you don't come to Krishna consciousness, you're going to fall prey to your material desires no matter what. Like, that's what material life is just following a desire until you get it, and then realizing that it's not really satisfying your heart. Like, this is the common phenomenon that people experience, is like they work so hard to get this job or this position. They got the job and it's like, oh, now what? Maybe I need to move to Australia. Maybe I need to go here. Maybe I need to do this, that, the other thing. But the way Krishna accommodates it for us is like, okay, go for it. Enjoy. Go and try your material desire out. And you try it out and you're not fulfilled. And then Krishna will give you the intelligence from inside, like, oh yeah, like this is what the books were talking about. Like, I won't be happy for material things. Like,
interesting, isn't it? Because you could say, so Krishna accommodates by giving us realization, and understanding,
and he lets us do it. It's like, if a kid's so stubborn to do something, you can't say no, you can't do it because it's bad for you. Sometimes you put your hand in the fire. That's the example they give. It's like, okay, go for it, try it out. But he's looking after us the whole time anyway. He's not. Yeah.
You could even say, like, in one sense, another way to look at it, Krishna can accommodate our mistakes by giving us suffering. Yeah. That helps us not to do something. Yeah. So the other part of the question, which then, but we could visit this. This is Bhagavatam. What verse is this? 10, 14, 8. Because the next part of her question is, right, are the negative and positive experiences in our lives part of our journey towards Krishna? Yeah, this is Lord Brahma praying to Krishna.
My dear Lord, one who earnestly waits for you to bestow your causeless mercy upon him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds and offering your respectful obeisances with his heart, words and body, is surely eligible for liberation, for it has become his rightful claim. Earnestly waits you to bestow your causeless mercy on him, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. It's a big patience theme, isn't it?
Nectar instruction.
Yeah, but you just wait, and suffer.
Listen to the purport puts it all in perspective.
Purport, Srila Sridhar Swami explains in his commentary that just as a legitimate son has to simply remain alive to gain an inheritance from his father, one who simply remains alive in Krishna consciousness following the regulative principles of Bhakti Yoga automatically becomes eligible to receive the mercy of the personality Godhead. In other words, he will be promoted to the kingdom of God. The words Sushamikshamana indicate that a devotee earnestly awaits the mercy of the Supreme Lord, even while suffering the painful effects of previous sinful activities. Lord Krishna explains in the Bhagavad Gita that a devotee who fully surrenders unto him is no longer liable to suffer the reactions of his previous karma. However, because in his mind the devotee still may maintain the remnant of his previous sinful mentality, the Lord removes the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit by giving his devotee punishments that may sometimes resemble sinful reactions. The purpose of the entire creation of God is to rectify the living entity's tendency to enjoy without the Lord. And therefore the particular punishment given for a sinful activity is specifically designed to curtail the mentality that produced the activity.
This also deals partly with the first question as well. But this is, these negative and positive experiences in our lives are there to curtail the last vestiges of the enjoying spirit. Okay, go on, finish. Sorry.
Although a devotee has surrendered to the Lord's devotional service until he is completely perfect in Krishna consciousness, he may maintain a slight inclination to enjoy the false happiness of this world, and the Lord therefore creates a particular situation to eradicate this remaining enjoying spirit. This unhappiness suffered by a sincere devotee is not technically a karmic reaction. It is rather the Lord's special mercy for inducing his devotee to completely let go of the material world and return home back to Godhead. A sincere devotee earnestly desires to go back to the Lord's abode. Therefore, he willingly accepts the Lord's merciful punishment and continues offering respects and obeisances to the Lord with his heart, words, and body. Such a bona fide servant of the Lord, considering all hardship a small price to pay for gaining personal association with the Lord, certainly becomes a legitimate son of God, as indicated here by the words Dayabhak. Just as one cannot approach the sun without becoming fire, one cannot approach the supreme pure Lord Krishna without undergoing a rigid purificatory process, which may appear like suffering, but which is in fact a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of the Lord. This is a sutra, isn't it?
Curative treatment administered. So you might think, are these, so are the negative and positive experiences in our lives part of our journey towards Krishna? And if you begin the path, then according to that verse and purport, the answer is yes. But they're not just, because if you do, they're not just your karmic reactions. It might appear like that, but actually, as it says, it's a curative treatment administered by the personal hand of Krishna. It's designed in order for us to learn something, experience something, and then understand something and move a step towards our spiritual goal.
Feel lucky, isn't it? Personal medicine.
Yeah.
The next time
it's not always. Sometimes it's a little bit.
Yeah. Next time you're suffering, just think, thank you, Krishna. Just the medicine I needed.
That's the thing. It's not. My spiritual master Shivaram Swami was saying, Krishna has no sympathy for our material bodies. He just wants us to come back home. So sometimes we might think, why am I going through such a horrible suffering condition? But it might be in order so we lose attachment for this body. Think, instead of this body, understand that this body is just a vehicle of suffering. So therefore we become detached from it and detached from this world, which might be exceptionally painful. But if we can see it like that, Tedukapam Pam Shushmikshamano, as the verse says, if I can tolerate these things, then the spiritual world becomes your inherited rightful claim.
I had a brief experience, a minor experience of food poisoning 2 days ago. And when I was feeling really sick, I was trying to chant. And
wait there, just a second. It might not have been food poisoning.
It could have been something else.
Yeah.
It's just speculation.
If you come to the Hare Krishna temple, you do not get food poisoning, by the way.
Sorry. Anyway, so I had a minor experience feeling sick.
Yeah.
Had a bit of a fever 2 days ago, basically.
Shouldn't have had that vegan sushi from Tesco's. That's your fault.
Yeah.
So I had this experience being sick 2 days ago with a fever and stuff, and I was trying to chant my rounds, and I was finding it really difficult, and it gave rise to the thought that, at the time of death, how am I going to concentrate on Krishna if I'm finding it so difficult right now? So in that sense, it was there was something beneficial that came from that situation.
Yeah, and if you see, back to Tirtha Swami, you can go. If anyone doesn't know who he is, he's left his body now, but he was a amazing devotee. But he was dying of bone cancer, right? And he had, one of his legs amputated. He had like lesions and tumors all over his body. He should have been in extreme agony. And then someone asked him, how are you feeling? And he just had this beaming smile on his face in bliss. And he said, it doesn't get better than this. There's a video you can see, it's called Die Before Dying. He gives a lecture, it's one of his last classes, and he starts doing this kirtan. And he's just crying and chanting in ecstasy. And it's just that this is someone who's obviously experiencing something completely different. He's completely off the bodily platform. Yeah.
There's one, if you're looking for something to listen to, because you can't get enough Welsh Yogi podcasts, like Lee, you said Legion, and I thought of Lee in Swansea.
Yeah.
But Lee, listen to this Radhanath Swami telling the life story of Bhakti Tirtha.
Oh, yeah, that's the best.
Radhanath Swami, life story of Bhakti Tirtha, YouTube it or something.
Yeah,
it's like a 6-hour video. It's on ISKCON Desire Tree. It is on YouTube too. But it's just the most amazing story of like Bhakti Tirtha Swami and like these types of stories of these types of people, like these higher souls, like is very inspiring because it shows you what Krishna consciousness is like.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's written books that are far out.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you like the first one, didn't you?
The first one's all about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj wrote a book about aliens, the pyramids, like all of the conspiracy theory stuff. He writes a book called Spiritual Warrior 1. And it's all about those things from a Krishna conscious perspective. Really cool. If you're into that kind of thing.
He's African American, isn't he? But he experienced some. He said he experienced some racism or something from like.
Yeah.
And he went to Prabhupada and said, I think there's some of the devotees. Prabhupada said, if you are disturbed by it, then what's the difference between you and them? And he took that as like, I need to be off the bodily platform. There's another time he had a dream, right? He goes to Prabhupada. Do you remember that story?
Maybe. If you tell me.
I'm trying to think of it. Prabhupada like opens a door and he sees like all these like African people or something. And Prabhupada said, you need to save all of them. So he goes to Africa. He preached in Africa. He was like close to Nelson Mandela and people like that. Like he was like a real powerful preacher. He'd go around and distribute books in I think Russia and places like that. When it was all locked down. He was such a ecstatic personality.
Yeah.
He was also very spiritual, right? Didn't he go see one of his spiritual teachers? He had like a spiritual master.
Yeah.
That was like very mystical.
Oh yeah, it was like some mystic guy in New York.
Yeah, and he said there's many spiritual teachers at the minute, but actually the real spiritual path, the real spiritual master of everyone is on this planet right now.
Yeah.
And he meant Srila Prabhupada, and he said like no one should put themselves forward as a spiritual teacher while this person's around. And he said the real people who have the real truth is the Hare Krishnas. And back to Tirtha Maharaj, what? Those guys who were singing in the street, the Hare Krishnas? What? Yeah. But once he got into it, he realized, this is the highest spiritual path that's being taught at the minute.
It's amazing. That life story thing is just so, especially if you've got a commute.
It's riveting.
Just pop it on, like.
Yeah.
It's like 6 hours. 6 hours of just nectar, like.
That's riveting. It's honestly like yeah. It's exciting to listen to, like, isn't it?
He's on another level as well. Like he'd sleep 3 hours a night, and he'd be like chanting 40 rounds every night. Yeah, all the food he'd eat would be like a handful of nuts, and he'd like read Bhagavatam and chant all night. He's like he was the past feet. Like he was like a different. He's different.
Yeah, he's from How did we end up talking about Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj?
I think because I mentioned
the
time of
fever.
death. Yeah, you mentioned
because you was whinging because you had a bit of sushi. Like.
I know.
He's there
vegan
without
sushi from Tesco.
It's all relative. It's all relative. It's what we can handle.
Yeah.
He's got his leg off full of lesions.
Yeah, bone cancer.
And he's blissed out.
Yeah. It just made me think of it. Because I'm the same. If I get a little cold, you know what I mean? Any ladies listening to this podcast have no idea how bad man flu is. but if I got a little cold, then it hits me like a ton of bricks. I'm like, Hare Krishna, I can't chant. I think, at the time of death, this is going to be a bit more difficult.
So was
Back to go on.
No.
Okay.
I thought that was a nice way to finish a podcast.
Okay.
we finished. Is it one more thing that you've got to say?
Okay, let's end on this. I hope you've come somewhere to answer Nadine's question. It's quite a long answer, but this just things to think about, and it's not. Sometimes the answer isn't also plain. This is the last thing I'll read then from Bhagavad Gita. Okay, should we end on this, Bhakta-rupa? What do you think?
Absolutely.
So this is from Bhagavad Gita. I'll read the Sanskrit. Ye mam batam idam nityam anustani manavaha shravanto nusashyanto muchanti tepi karma bihi. Those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions, Krishna says, and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy become freed from the bondage of fruitive action. Okay, so in the purport, Prabhupada says that an ordinary man with firm faith in the eternal injunctions of the Lord, even though unable to execute such orders, becomes liberated from the bondage of the law of karma. So even just having faith in, okay, I can, at least I have faith in the process. I might make mistakes, but at least I have faith. In the beginning of Krishna consciousness, one may not fully discharge the injunctions of the Lord, but because one is not resentful of this principle and works sincerely without consideration of defeat and hopelessness, he will surely be promoted to the stage of pure Krishna consciousness. Just to circle back what we said in the beginning, this type of honesty, and it's not the type of honesty like, look, yeah, I'm a murderer and that's just who I am,
Mm-hmm.
But you have faith like, okay, no, this is the way I should act and I will do everything I can to be this way because I have faith in Krishna. And we might make some mistakes, but the intention is taken, And Prabhupada says later in the Gita, one should not use this sort of just compassion of forgiving nature of the Lord as an excuse. So then one just performs all sorts of nonsense activities and thinks, yeah, it's okay, But you have to be honest, and part of honesty is like you got to, as long as you got to try your best. As long as you're trying your best, what else can you do?
Yeah, don't take the mick out of Krishna.
Yeah, otherwise it starts to become an offense to if one says, well, I can just, I can do whatever I want and then just chant Hare Krishna, it'll all be okay. Do you know what I mean? So that's where this sort of seriousness, patience, honesty, it all has to be there.
So that's what it means to be rightly fixed in your determination.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you've just read out, that attitude?
Exactly, Peter.
How do you?
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Wait, I was wondering.
God! Come on, everyone just wants to go. They want to finish their day.
I was wondering if we wanted to mention the T-shirts as a last note.
I think we sold enough T-shirts.
We sold out our
We can
T-shirts.
celebrate the success of the T-shirts.
The people who sponsored the podcast.
Yeah, we've.
Thank you. Send a thank you out.
Thank you to everyone. We sold 12 T-shirts.
Yeah, so each T-shirt sponsored a
1 month
of the Welsh Yogi podcast.
Although we're looking into costs now, and maybe it was a bit less than a month, but it's fine.
Yeah, it's okay.
But if someone
helps.
didn't even know about the T-shirt,
Bhakta-rupa's losing money, right? Everyone's he's getting out tenors for everyone who comes up to him and
Happy days.
happy days, happy day.
if someone wasn't at the Sunday program and they are like a super avid listener, we might be able to make an exception and do 1 or 2 more T-shirts if they message me or Peter.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, definitely.
What if they message me? Why can't they message me?
Well, you're a busy man. I didn't want them to bother
okay.
you. I didn't want them to.
You're gonna
I
get
didn't want
thousands
them
of
to bother you.
messages now.
Useless.
Message Gopal if you want to as well.
If you really, really want one.
If you really want one, we will we'll figure it out for you. But yeah, thank you to everyone who bought a T-shirt.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Okay.
Wear them proudly. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Hope that was okay, Nadine. Lots of love. And we'll speak to you all soon. Haribo.
Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Nam